Almost all airplanes are good for traveling, especially when compared to cars, and there is no best traveling aircraft. It's all about the mission, like how far you need to go, how much you need to carry, and most importantly, your budget. So, let's look at some of the best planes to cover several different missions for personal pleasure travel. The first set of planes we're going to look at is what I call the slow weekenders. For a budget weekend traveling machine that's also economical for local flights or training, my pick would be the Archer II. I favor the 78 and 1979 models. Starting with the 78 model, the streamlined wheel pants boosted the speed to nearly 130 knots. To me, those two model years were the sweet spot for the 180 horsepower version of the fixed-gear Cherokee. After 1979, PIPER started to add deluxe interiors and other amenities that eroded the carrying capacity. Earlier versions may carry more, but they are slower. All of the 180 horsepower PA-28s are good, stable aircraft and make good instrument aircraft as well. All of the PA-28 180-181 aircraft are great airplanes. Some have been modified with aerodynamic enhancements that allow these older Archers to rival the speed of the Archer IIs with the factory speed wheel plants. The range for the Archer II is somewhat modest even with full tanks. A 500 to 550 nautical mile flight with an hour of reserve allows 650 to 700 pounds of payload. This makes the Archer II good for weekend jaunts for a family of 4 or 3 adults. The cost of operation with the highly reliable 0360 Lycoming engine, fixed gear, and fixed pitch prop makes the Archer II quite economical. This is also an aircraft that can be purchased to learn on, as it makes an excellent trainer as well. Well, that's it for slow weekenders. Moving forward to the faster weekenders, these are for those that want a little more range, a little more speed, and a fair bit more carrying capacity. The PIPER Dakota is a perfect choice. The Dakota will typically lift about 1,200 pounds of fuel and payload, which makes it a true 4-place aircraft. The 72 gallons of usable fuel give the Dakota a range of 600 to 700 nautical miles, and its 235 horsepower 0540 engine with a Hartzell constant speed prop delivers a cruise speed slightly in excess of 140 knots. The downside is that the Dakota is not cheap to buy, and it also costs more to maintain, primarily because it has a constant speed prop and a 6-cylinder engine that costs more to overhaul. The Dakota can burn up to 14 gallons per hour in comparison with the Archer II, whose fuel burn is 10 gallons per hour at most. Now let's look at another category which I call the distance runners. For a family of 4 or less that wants to fly long distances, a faster aircraft with a longer range better fits the bill. Generally, non-aviation enthusiasts and even some veteran flyers don't want to spend more than 3 to 3.5 hours in a small aircraft at a time. This fact limits the effective range to about 6 to 7 hours of flying in a day, punctuated by a fuel and lunch stop. If your vacation trips are going to cover 1,000 nautical miles or more, then an Archer or Dakota will be hard-pressed to make that journey in 2 legs. For the longer trips, where a huge load is not critical, a Turbo Aero 3 fits the bill nicely. It has the altitude capability to get up where the air is smooth and cool, and to take advantage of the increased true airspeed. The Turbo Aero 3 is also an easy aircraft to maintain, as it's a PA-28 to the bone. Its TSIO 360F Continental engine is not as robust as the Lycoming, but it is a very smooth running engine. There is one other option that has passionate adherents. The Comanche will rival the performance of the Turbo Aero in the low teens, will haul a bit more, and is a gorgeous flying airplane. Comanches are also better protected against corrosion. All aluminum components on the Comanche were primed with zinc chromate before being riveted together, providing corrosion protection in the lap joints. The downside is that it is hard to find a maintenance shop that's really well versed in the Comanche. Unless one is nearby, the best strategy for a new owner is to find a careful and competent mechanic and stay involved in the maintenance by doing the legwork to find solutions to issues as they come up. The next category we're going to look at is what I call the baby whale haulers. Well, I don't know what baby whales have to do with this, but you'll get the point if you let me explain. For those who have a bigger family or need to haul larger loads, the Cherokee Six and the Lance Saratoga family are good bets. My choice here is a 1976 or 77 Piper Lance. Without going to the expense of the turbocharged option, the Lance offers the best balance of speed and carrying capacity. The earlier Cherokee 6 models will carry more weight but are slower. The later PA-32s have more luxurious interiors and more amenities, but at the cost of useful load. The Lance 2 is also another great option. The T-tail configuration, cost useful load, and made the aircraft unsuitable for soft fields due to the inability to lighten the nose on takeoff roll. However, the configuration works for many, and the Lance 2s are generally significantly cheaper than the Lance. The Lance is a solid 155-knot plane that'll lift about 1,500 pounds of load. The usable fuel capacity is 94 gallons, which, at that speed, is good for 4.5 hours or so. At 155 knots, one can expect to burn 16 to 18 gallons per hour. With forward and aft baggage compartments and 6 seats, the Lance, like the whole Cherokee 6 line, offers many loading options if the pilot is careful with the center of gravity. The big cargo door in the back allows for the loading of bulky items, whether it's taking a child to college or loading camping gear or mountain bikes. Owners who don't need all the seats can remove one or both of the middle seats for more legroom and more space for baggage or coolers for in-flight dining. The next category we're going to look at is what I call serious cruisers. Serious cruisers are for pilots who want a long range in pressurized comfort, and when it comes to this, nothing beats the Malibu and the Mirage, which were made to cruise high, fast, and far. Depending on altitude and power settings, the range can extend to 1,550 nautical miles. At PA-46 aircraft can get above much of the winter weather in pressurized comfort for a family of 4. At one time, the Mirage was the preeminent reciprocating single-engine pressurized aircraft. It's since been superseded by Piper's M-series aircraft such as the M350, but is still available as a great used aircraft. The original Malibu was equipped with a 310 horsepower turbocharged Continental engine and was produced for 5 years before Piper certified the aircraft with the 350 horsepower turbocharged Lycoming TIO 540 engine and renamed it the Malibu Mirage. The Malibu and Mirage were made to cruise high, fast, and far. Cruise speed is between 185 and 225 knots, again depending on power setting and altitude. Both models, as well as the newer M350, have 120 gallons of usable fuel. While the Malibu was originally praised for burning 15 gallons per hour lead of peak, there were some significant engine problems with the Continental. Whether that was due to operating lean of peak or whether it was due to operators not operating LOP properly is a matter of debate. The 350 horsepower Lycoming on the Malibu Mirage is going to want something closer to 20 gallons per hour, and the M350, with its Lycoming TIO 540 engine and dual turbochargers, boasts a consistent fuel burn at any altitude. The shortcoming of the Malibu and Mirage is that while the aircraft has 6 seats, you aren't going to seat 6 adults and do more than taxi around the airport. Even then, it would not be terribly comfortable. The real-world useful load is about 1,250 pounds. With full tanks, The payload on these aircraft is slightly more than 500 pounds. The weight and complications of pressurization and all-weather capability exact their toll on both carrying capacity and owners' wallets. PA-46 aircraft are not designed for short or soft runways, but they can get above much of the winter weather in pressurized comfort for a family of 4 and cover a lot of distance. The next category we're going to look at is twin travelers. For those who find flying in a single-engine aircraft over rough terrain or large bodies of water uncomfortable, the Piper PA-30 Twin Comanche is a great option. The Comanche offers more speed than the Lance on less fuel, and it carries the same as a Turbo Aero 3 or maybe slightly more, but it goes further and faster. It's powered by a pair of Lycoming IO320 engines, which are about as reliable as any aircraft engine ever made. Last but not least, the jet-like one. For those who want something cost-effective, fast, the Piper M600 Meridian is your plane. The Meridian is not just good at long-range, high-speed flights, but is also a master at short-range missions. It uses the highly trusted Pratt & Whitney Canada PT6 engine and Garmin's advanced avionics to yield a flight range of over 1,000 miles at an altitude of 30,000 feet. Unlike the other Pipers mentioned earlier, this one is the fastest and the most expensive. Maintaining that turboprop engine in front costs a lot. Anyone that can afford to buy and maintain this plane can as well afford an entry-level jet. With the exception of its crop dusters, all Pipers are traveling machines to a degree. Range, payload, and speed are the prime considerations. Next is weather capability. All the models discussed have the ability to be equipped to fly at least light IFR. For those shopping for their first plane, those looking to upgrade, and those merely dreaming about a plane for personal travel, enjoy that journey. Buying a plane is a memorable event. Picking the right plane will make it memorable for all the right reasons. If you like our videos, please smash the like and subscribe button. You can also join us by clicking on the link next to the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.